All right, welcome to the podcast. Another episode of The Mic is Yours. I'm really excited today because we are live remote from just outside of the continental United States with my good friend and former colleague, actually, Angela Smith Covey. Did I say that right, Angela?
Absolutely. Yep, that's
Okay. All right, great. Well, welcome and thanks so much for being on and connecting with me after a couple of years, right?
absolutely. Yeah, this is so great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. You know what? When we kind of, you know, for those of you who are listening into the podcast, Angela and I crossed paths, really just through through working together at a .com out of Pittsburgh. But since then we've kind of kept in touch. Every I don't know every year or so, you seem to check in and say, "Hey, how's it going?" And then I heard where you are today, and if you could tell us, for those of you who could see, we do have a video of this that we'll be posting on YouTube. But for those of you that can't see, where are you? Where are you right at right now? Where are
Right,
you?
I'm sitting on my sailboat in Marsh Harbor. It's in the Abacos in the Bahamas. So,
In in the Bahamas.
yeah,
That's what I
yeah,
wanted to make sure we caught
yeah,
the location.
yeah,
And we're able to do this through the miracle of technology and a whole lot of Wi-Fi, you said, on your end, right?
absolutely. Yeah. Some pretty
Yeah.
good. We got a good router and some stuff.
I Yeah, absolutely. I see that. We weren't sure. I wasn't sure what was going to look and feel like, but it's exciting. And so thank you again for kind of coming on. This podcast is really about um, you know folks coming on and just telling their story. And I think that everybody has such a great and interesting story to tell, and it could be inspiring to people. It could be uplifting. And so that's what I kind of wanted to walk through today was, where you are today, obviously in a better weather location than me. Um, maybe.
I'm in short sleeves.
And I'm in like long sleeve. It's June in Buffalo. Uh,
God.
it's crazy. And so, you did not always live in the Bahamas, is that right?
No, but I was in Florida, so I was close. But
Okay.
anyway, but not
That's
not there my whole life. But too,
yeah,
part of our story, Mike, that I
yeah.
was telling friends and family, it's kind of interesting, is, and they found it a little hard to believe. You and I have actually never met face to face, which is what's so funny. Yeah,
That's kind of crazy,
it
even
is.
though we
But
work
these
together.
days, I
Yeah.
guess it's not as strange anymore.
Right.
But so we had this professional virtual working relationship, and I just think that speaks volumes for you know, like people's ability to communicate and still come out. I mean, I was trying to think even how many years it's been. It's
Oh my
been
gosh.
I
Over
a few
10?
cities ago. Yeah, exactly. It's been a
Right.
minute. Yeah, it hasn't been about 10. It was like 2009, 2008. But anyway,
Yes. Yes. And you know, uh, it was great. It was great working with you. I think we connected, and then we found out we did have some other connections
yes,
later
yes,
on, right?
yeah,
Through
definitely.
through music, actually,
Yeah, I was gonna say music was one of them. Yeah.
right?
So we
And I'm
traveled
just
a little
sitting in
bit
my
over.
parlor here,
I
uh,
know.
with our baby Grand here, which is
Yeah, I'm trying not to drool on
my
video,
baby,
but
my
yeah,
baby,
yeah.
which has a fun history. But you started out in music, right?
I did. I was a piano performance major, a million years ago. I'm quite a bit older than you, but and we'll get to it, I'm sure. But I I don't think it's a fun story. It's an interesting story about my baby grand piano, and
Oh,
when
wow.
you start living, when you make the decision that you're going to live on a boat someday, I can assure you there's no room for a grand piano. So that was actually a really sad day when I had to sell my the baby grand
Ah,
husband bought me. We were literally still dating when he bought it for me. But anyway,
oh, yeah.
but
Can't move it onto the boat.
No. So I have my guitar here. It's a lot more portable, but I'm not
Right.
nearly as good.
Well, well, you obviously find time to hopefully entertain yourself in the Bahamas, I would imagine. You have plenty to do. For those of
Yeah.
us who are kind of like we do sail on maybe Lake Erie, um, which is a little bit probably a little calmer at times. Uh, just tell us like how when did you make the decision to move and to kind of live on a boat in the Bahamas? How did that come
Right.
about?
Well, yeah, and I'll kind of start with, I mean, literally, it's a dream. It was a dream 30 years in the making. So,
Wow.
uh, that's the part that you hope is slightly inspirational to other people because my husband and I mean, we're obviously very goal oriented, and this is something we talked about probably the first time that we used to vacation and take our vacations, and it's called bareboating. You would rent a sailboat in the Caribbean or something, and you'd spend a week, and then you'd pack up and go home. So it's like a lot of people, we're certainly not alone in that. The first time we did it, we were hooked. So
Wow.
one thing leads to another, but neither one of us are sailors. There's that minor detail.
All
Minor detail.
right.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah, we grew up in the
Wow.
Midwest, so we didn't
So
have
brand new.
a lot of access to big sailboats. So,
Yeah.
but then fast forward about, well, 30 years. We've been married that long. So,
Congratulations.
thank you. Um, the fact that we can sail together, I mean, that's like a whole other podcast on being in 350 square feet with your spouse. Again,
That is a
whole
whole,
other podcast.
I think you have a podcast
Yeah,
actually on your
whole
own
other pod. Yeah,
with
definitely,
with just that topic.
definitely. But fast forward, we lived in Florida for a while, and so we bought our boat a couple of years ago. We actually bought it new at the Miami Boat Show. So like, we went over,
Wow.
signed the papers, sailed it back to the Tampa Bay area. So we
Wow.
basically spent the last couple of years, full disclosure, learning how to sail. And yes, we're the idiots that buy a brand new boat. With that, most people start small, you
Yeah.
boat, work your way up, and yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we sailed this boat like crazy the last couple of years up and down the Southwest Florida coast, from like Clearwater to the Dry Tortugas. Getting used to her. We also uh, benefited from the expertise of what we call sailing coaches.
Okay.
So to kind of use a more contemporary term, it was a
Yes.
husband and wife captain couple, and,
Wow.
and we spent a lot of time with them, like with doing private instruction on our boat. So I share all that
Yeah.
so that people don't, people instantly well, like our family and friends, they know we're not crazy. I mean, we really did take baby steps, and
Okay.
we didn't just wake up one day and say, "Hey, let's buy a 45-foot sailboat and hit the seas," because that's not quite what
takes
we did.
takes a
Yeah,
little bit more thought process
yeah,
than buy boat,
yeah,
get a
sail.
dock, or not, and just hit the water. So you really took your time
We did.
to learn and to kind of try it out first,
Oh gosh, yeah,
right?
yeah. Well, and to get used to this particular boat and learn how to sail this particular boat. We'd rented boats in the past and stuff, but
Hmm.
anyway, what is we're very conservative and just as far as safety, and we just
Sure.
and I will tell you, there's a lot of people out there that don't do what we did, and it ends up in disaster. And I
Yeah.
mean, I have many, and I'm not exaggerating, many firsthand, knowledge and examples of people that have had bad things happen. So, obviously, we don't want that.
Yeah. Absolutely. And you know, being coming from a kind of a sailing I was kind of married into a sailing family.
Yeah, that's what you said.
So my wife grew up on a boat your size that her dad, actually my father-in-law made.
Oh,
Um,
God, I can't
uh,
imagine.
Yeah, it's a legacy. It's been 50 years. We celebrated 50 years of the Winzang,
Cool.
which is the name of the boat, this year, and the captain is definitely still going strong, and now we're able to kind of have our kids grow up on the boat, my 3-year-old and 6-year-old, and I was telling you earlier. I said the unfortunate news is that I get extremely motion sick.
So unfortunate. But
Yeah,
really, you really can get over it. Like seriously,
can
the
you?
more you spend on the boat, and I've heard that from a lot of people. It will actually improve the more time you spend on a boat. For most people.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm sure if I had no choice, right?
Yeah.
We set
Yeah.
sail and
I
and
mean,
we're
and
we're
there's
gone.
lots of drugs. I mean, there's so
Yeah.
many drugs. Do any of them work for you?
Yeah, well, so I get car sick
Oh,
very easily,
it's
and
hardcore.
so yeah, I mean it's like in a matter of minutes, and I'm like,
Oh,
all right, I'm either gonna be fine or I gotta go back. So literally, I prepare days in advance, and with the take
shoot.
the Dramamine and the seasickness bands, and I'm literally on top of the deck, like
Right,
laying
staring
down.
down the horizon. I know
The
what you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah. And everybody's like, "Are you okay? You're right. You set up." So I love sailing and I love boating so much that I'll do whatever I can, just to do that. But I don't know. Did you have that experience? I mean, did it take time to get used to kind of leaving a house or home?
Oh
Um,
gosh, that's a great question. And two, I'll kind of just fast forward really quickly.
yeah.
The Bahamas was, and I'll circle back to your specific question, but the Bahamas was basically our first trip away from Florida. So I mean,
Okay.
it's kind of a the sailing coaches to I mean,
Hmm.
just to, I'm sure your in-laws would just like die over this conversation. Like, I can't believe these people, sailing coaches from
Can't
the
wait for them to see
Midwest,
this.
in a boat, bought a new one. Anyway, anywho,
No
they
judgment.
yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm judging myself just hearing it come out. It sounds a lot worse. But anyway, so the Bahamas was just kind of a big deal. But I'll tell you, we've been here. We left Florida in February, so we've just been hopping all around. I mean, there's a lot of different chains and a lot of different islands in the Bahamas. So yeah, and we'll continue to be here. But kind of the circling back, the whole point of that was in February. We left, we sold our home. We have nothing. We have a 5 by 10 storage unit back in Florida. That's it.
Wow.
I sold my car 3 days before we left in February. Yeah,
And
yeah.
this
So
is
I
this
mean,
is June. This is
yeah, we
June.
went full hog. Yeah, we definitely went
Wow.
full hog. So,
Wow.
and since we haven't done it before, it is definitely an adjustment. And I'm a little embarrassed to say the things that obviously I miss my family and friends a lot
Mhm.
because I can't just, I
Sure.
mean, we Skype and we FaceTime and stuff like that. I still FaceTime my dog who is not with us.
Aw.
He's back at my mom's. I know.
Aw.
But anyway, so we FaceTime, but I miss things. I didn't realize how much I missed Starbucks.
Oh, yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
oh,
right.
it's just weird things that you just, yes, friends and family, of course, but we've been to parts of the Bahamas that are very uninhabited. I mean, they're gorgeous, they're beautiful, they're breathtaking, but they're uninhabited. So it's just, so as far as an adjustment, we haven't been doing full-time live aboard very long. So there are adjustments, definitely.
Right. Right. So, no Starbucks, no fast food, grocery stores,
Oh,
maybe, right?
the, oh gosh, it depends. That's been, and plus I love to cook. We've talked about that
Yeah,
before.
sure.
So it's just different. It's just different. And a lot of people don't know, we spend a lot of time at anchor. So it's not like we drive around from marina to marina and plug in the boat.
Yeah.
Uh, you spend a lot of time at anchor, and as you and your family know, that's glorified camping. I mean, the boat's wide open. You're at anchor. There's
Yeah.
gates the stars, the breeze is blowing through the boat, there's
Yeah.
bugs, there's humidity, there's
You're in the elements.
you're camping. Yeah, you're basically
Yeah.
camping. So
It's
as far as an
wow.
adjustment, that was kind of that that was a little bit of adjustment for me.
Right.
But
Right.
washing your hair on the back of the boat, uh,
Yeah.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah. That and are you from day to day? Obviously, you don't. You're very safety conscious. You're making sure that the supplies and everything you need are at hand. How many days, weeks can you go with
Yeah, that
without
is
contact with others?
yeah, that is such a good question because first of all, everyone outfits their boats differently.
Okay.
So, and that a lot of it's on personal preference. But for example, like we have solar panels, so we have
Oh,
got we have we also have a water maker. So I mean, yeah,
that's
so
never
that
think of that.
keeps us from having to go. I don't know the boat that you're used to, but we can literally go weeks, and we carry extra fuel in jerry cans strapped
Okay.
to the back. So other
Wow.
than having to go in for fuel, and we can go hundreds of miles on a tank of diesel. So we
Sure.
really like being self-sufficient like that. So we can literally be gone weeks. I kind of have a rule. It's funny, my husband and I did make an agreement every 2 weeks at a minimum, like a maximum of 2 weeks. And then I like to go to the marina and use a real shower and
Hmm.
blow dryer, stuff like that. So, anyway. But
Wow.
right now we're not at anchor. We're actually at a marina plugged in right now. So anyway, it's
I
nice.
You're
Well,
not rocking. You're in a
no,
nice calm.
yeah, yeah, yep. Yeah,
That's
I worked from the boat a little bit when we first started, and I did a lot of conference calls, and I would be like, so it
wow.
happened.
That's
We
that's
got lucky.
amazing.
But I told you
That's
the boat makes weird noises, and I don't know if you just heard like some pump just went off, and I was like, oh my
oh,
gosh, I knew the
oh
boat would make a noise, so I hope hopefully you didn't hear it.
no. Actually, it's pretty insulated. So that's
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
That's
There's
awesome.
some neighbors
Actually,
up. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no. Go ahead.
There's neighbors up on the dock also having a party next door, so I'm great, perfect
Uh,
timing.
that's okay. I'm sure it happens
Oh no.
where you are.
Yeah.
Uh, if you and if for those people watching the video, um, if you pan left or right to get a really good understanding of where you are, I mean, you've got a pretty nice setup there.
That's the
It's
companion bay and the galley, and
yeah,
it's not like the iPhone where I can just switch the camera around. It's
yeah,
a little harder, but
yeah.
anyway,
No,
it's
that's
kind of
cool just to get a
yeah.
sense of the boat, and for the boat lovers who are listening, like uh, the specs on the boat, 45 foot, what make
Yeah.
model?
It's a Catalina 445. So, and she's beamy. She's 13 or almost 14 feet wide, and we draw 5 feet in the
Great.
keel. And she's a dual helm, so she's got two steering wheels,
Wow.
basically. And
Okay.
she's not a ketch; it's just a sloop.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
yeah,
Awesome.
but
Awesome.
she's fairly new. We bought her brand new, which is kind of neat. So.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm sure you had it could be overwhelming, right? To
Oh gosh, yeah,
at a
yeah,
boat show like that.
yeah, exactly, exactly. And some of it was price point in the decision, and then some of it is, you know, yeah. We didn't want a used boat because we're so new to sailing. That's the last thing we needed was to have
Hmm.
a list of 26 repairs or stuff.
Yep.
I mean, not saying we're not handy and stuff, but it was just like,
No, I
no,
understand.
let's focus on one thing at a time.
It's
So.
a lot of work. It's a
It
job.
is.
Yeah, in itself.
Well, we actually joke. There is a joke that I always make. It's a bad joke, but I always say, "What's the difference between a new boat and a used boat?" Nothing, because stuff on the new boat breaks all the time. We're on our third water pump, and uh, yeah,
Oh,
there's always something. But
oh wow. Well,
that's just part of it.
It's amazing. Yeah. So, well, my wife would say, it sounds like you're living your best life, and she's very jealous.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
great. Well, to get to today, right? You said it didn't just happen overnight. It took years. It was 30 years in the making, and you didn't start out sailing. Obviously, you were in the Midwest, and to get from the Midwest to the Bahamas was quite a journey in itself, I'm sure. Kind of, you obviously have a family, daughters,
Just one.
one daughter.
Yeah.
Okay. And so for the folks listening and watching, where do you start in your career path or in your life's journey? Obviously music was a big part of it. And take us through just a little bit of history so we know where you came from.
Oh, gosh. Wow. And it's a long history because I'm old. Yeah.
You're not that old.
Just in a nutshell, I mean, obviously, a big part of my identity is being married to a fantastic guy for 30 years. But, he worked in commercial construction his whole life. I worked in training and organization development, just pretty much a career of it. But I'm a daughter of an airline pilot, so I grew up traveling. I was fortunate enough to marry someone who loves to travel. So just generally, we've been little trivia. My husband and I, between the two of us, we have been to 41 countries, not
41.
cities. 41 countries between the two of us.
Wow.
So just a little trivia. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's impressive. Wow, that's amazing.
But that's a lot of travel.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So
Wow.
we've been. I mean, I just don't have to tell you that, but you're exposed to a lot of neat things when you travel. And our daughter.
I think that's great. Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, I think that's one thing that anybody should do more of, even if if they're in college, or if the study abroad programs,
Right.
or even in you don't know what you want to do. Traveling is the best way to find out, right?
Absolutely. I mean, the whole basis is around travel for us, and for us, it's not. I mean, the boat is a means to an end, but the cool thing, I mean, you get to go to a lot of places and explore a lot, which that's our favorite part. People always ask me, what what do you like best? And it's not. I mean, the act of sailing is pretty cool. I mean, I don't have to tell you, it's peaceful. It's the sound of just the water and the sails, and we love that part too. I guess we like it all, but so I've worked my whole life in the corporate arena. My husband's hardworking. We just, we're just like everybody else that I know, except I retired 2 years ago and decided to go live on a boat full time and travel.
Right.
So,
Wow. Yeah. No, it's pretty incredible, the 41 countries and kind of maintaining a career and a family,
right.
And working through all that. Did you? What were some of the unexpected challenges that you might have faced that with that career, and did you ever hit a point where that didn't happen for a period of time, or was that always the case that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, life happens. I mean, we, obviously it was a dream 30 years in the making, not 15, because life happens. Yeah. And for example, like for us, I don't know, with sailing, through the American Sailing Association, for example, there's certifications and classes that you take on the water in a boat. And for example, we took ASA 103 and 104, for example, we took them 3 times. Usually about 15 years in between. So there was a little bit of fits and starts, but we're obviously people that absolutely maximized our vacation days. And, honestly, we're fortunate enough,
Yeah.
I mean, we had decent jobs where we could afford to go fly to the Caribbean for a week. I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
but it was our
Right. You
choice. I
could
mean,
make it. Yeah.
we could have spent those vacations a lot of ways, but for us,
Right.
it was always obvious. So,
Yep.
jokingly, our only obstacle was usually always budget. No, I'm just kidding. But
Yeah.
I'm
Yep.
kidding. But and we have one child, so I mean, we just
Mhm.
had our nest is but she's 26, so our nest has been empty for a little
Yeah.
while. So it's for the most part, our parents are healthy, so it's just a little window.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
were just blessed, just so blessed and so fortunate. And my husband
Right.
is 60, I'm 53, and so we're just kind
Yeah.
of taking this window, if you will,
Taking
just
advantage of it.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Oh, that sounds
Uh,
amazing. It just
the
sounds
only
great.
the only other thing I
Hmm.
haven't shared, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
My husband's also made some big sacrifices for the last almost 8 years. He's worked in the Middle East.
Wow.
So he's had
Yeah, you were
a
saying that.
dangerous, kind of job. So he's sacrificed a lot. So while it's not a setback per se, he has
Yeah.
absolutely sacrificed for our family, and and has
Yeah.
been able to achieve some financial goals. We got our kid through college without any
Hmm.
loans or any debt, and you know,
That's great.
paid for the boat, so down payment, that kind of stuff. So,
Right.
you know, interesting
Oh, that's
choice.
awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So you started in the corporate training world. You mentioned, and at some point we crossed paths, and we started working together. But on the side, you were also pursuing another dream of yours
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
well, right? Which
Yeah.
was your love of the culinary world,
Yes. Well, let's be
right?
real clear, Mike. It's the love of eating. Okay.
Okay.
All right. And you
Hey, you're
walk
tra-
that
you're a
back.
train you're trained now. I can't I don't
Yeah.
want to I don't want to miss that point. But
Oh,
that's what you were doing, right? You went back.
mhm.
Have you always had a love for food and the
Always. Always. I had a
yeah.
cookie store for 10 years of my life with my family.
Oh wow.
I know, just crazy stuff.
You said cookie store?
Cookie store. Yeah. Yeah. We made this product that you couldn't buy anywhere else in the world or the country, a little specialized little sweet pizzas, and I sold a few franchises, and I did all that with my family while we were all working full-time other jobs. And
Wow.
so I love to
Um,
bake. I started out, I mean, as a little kid. Oh my gosh, I was baking these little sunshine cakes for my neighbors when I was 8 or 9 years old. It was some,
oh wow.
recipe, and I would just take them to every neighbor. I mean, I literally have been baking since I can remember. But so the cool part about culinary was to kind of round that out and do, you know, uh, I had to take a couple baking classes, but it was more fun just to focus on the savory side, if you will. So, and I
Okay.
did that, had a little 2 year window when my daughter was in high school before college, and so I
Mm,
was working part time from home when I met you,
right.
and when I wasn't working, I was cooking. So that was cool.
Wow.
But it was, believe it or not, I'm going to walk this all the way back to the boat. It's related.
Yeah.
The cooking and the boat is related. So
Hmm.
it was just one of those, because we thought I was really, really, really planning ahead. So it's one
Hmm.
of those, like, we just figured, if I get to the Caribbean and I
Hmm.
need to make some money, or support
Ah.
ourselves, there'd probably be a
Every
Hilton. Yeah, a Hilton
everybody needs
hotel.
to eat.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or, um, this is way down the road, but if you know we don't have enough street cred, but
Hmm.
if we ever wanted to charter people around on our boat, you
Yeah.
know, so my husband's dream is to maybe go ahead and pursue his captain's license, and I'll just continue to cook for people. So,
Yeah.
and the
That's
cruising
not a
world,
bad gig.
no, it's not. The cruising world is very social, and so that's kind of
Yeah.
fun.
A tight knit group, a community. You've met
It is.
other people. You've met other, obviously,
Yeah. Yeah,
like
sometimes with the
minded.
same boat. Yeah, sometimes it's people that
Yeah.
have the same boat we do. Talk about a conversation starter. You're in an anchorage, And
Right.
no lie, there was at one anchorage, I kid you not, there were three other Catalina 445s, three in the
Yeah.
same anchorage. I
Wow.
mean, you just have to take
That's a
the
party. That's a
odds
party.
were, yeah, conversation
Yeah.
starter, to say the least. But
Yeah, that's awesome. And you do have a galley on the boat,
yeah,
right? Does that allow you, afford you the space to kind of stretch your cooking creativity? Is
yeah, no.
no.
You have to kind of
Yeah.
dial it down a little. And the biggest difference is like the number of courses that you
Mm,
prepare. You get real happy with like two courses, like meat and a starch, you know. And it's so funny. It was just a silly little mental adjustment. Or you're like, you start out, you're like, I'm going to make pasta, I'm going to make salad, oh, and garlic bread and dessert. And, you're lucky if you get the pasta. You know?
yeah.
You get
Yeah.
a little
The
over ambitious. Yeah, it's
over
funny.
ambitious, and it probably gets a little warm. I would bet,
Exactly. Oh,
below
well, yeah,
deck.
it just depends. You're exactly right. That is
Yeah.
exactly right. So,
Yeah. So
yeah.
you're besides cooking and enjoying the boat, you said, it is a lot of work to maintain the boat. But what is the, for me, I've only sailed on Lake Erie, which
Hmm.
which can have its,
That's
and the lakes
awesome.
can be, yeah, which is amazing. Uh, you know, the elements can be unpredictable at times on the lake. What does the Bahamas, what are the variable? I mean, I don't know what the variables can be and what you have to look out for. And have you ever, I don't want to say, have you, gotten yourself into a situation like that? Because I know you're safety conscious,
Right.
but what is it like? What are the elements that you need to prepare for when you're out there?
Yeah. Uh, yeah. Well, first thing, I mean, kind of going back to technology,
Hmm.
we have satellite capabilities, so when
Hmm.
which is nice when you're out of phone or Wi-Fi range, so we can check weather. So for
Great.
starters, the number one thing is avoid,
Hmm.
avoid if at all
Yeah.
possible. But
Yeah.
for us, there's a little distinction, and um, I don't know if this applies necessarily sailing on lakes, but we are what would refer to as coastal cruisers
Hmm.
versus blue water sailors. So we will not pick up and go across the Atlantic. Okay? We we like it when there's land in sight.
Yes,
That
I got you.
cruising means you're about, 3 to 5, most of the time, you're 3 to 5 miles off the coast and you can see
Hmm.
land, or you know that it's super close. So I share
Yeah.
that because,
Yeah.
when you're asking about the elements that you come in contact with,
Hmm.
uh, in the Bahamas. So we've had to do probably, our first big bit of blue water sailing, like the crossing over here. You have to cross the Gulf
Right.
Stream. We've had to go out in it's called Exuma Sound. I mean, we've
Hmm.
been in 8,000 feet of water, the depth.
Wow.
Like,
Wow.
I mean, and that kind of freaks me out. Like, it's just a mental thing where it just freaks me out.
8,000 feet. That's more than a
8,000
mile.
feet, I
Over
know.
over a
And
mile
so,
deep.
yeah, so that's how
Yeah.
deep. So,
Yeah.
I don't have to tell you, we've been in some
Mhm.
big seas, um, you
Sure.
know, like, probably 5, 6, 7 feet, which for us is big. That's
Yeah.
real big, big for
Right.
anybody. But
Right.
we have a boat to handle it. And then the other crazy element that you might not think of is the Bahamas is really, really shallow in spots.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
we have to. It's called VPR. It's like
Mhm.
it's visual piloting. So
Okay.
I'm on the bow a lot with the sun overhead, and you're looking for coral and
Oh, wow.
heads, and so
Yeah.
I use the word uchi. It's like it gets a little uchi sometimes and
Yeah.
puckery, and you're
Yeah.
just like, oh, please don't hit bottom. And we did. We've hit bottom
Have you? Mhm.
three times on this trip, but
Oh,
we didn't get
wow.
stuck, thankfully. So
Well, thankfully you didn't. And are there people that do get stuck? And if so, like,
yeah,
uh, you have to call AAA.
Well,
Right?
guess what? There is no AAA in the Bahamas. In Florida, it was Boat US, and we have a tow policy. But over here, and it was just sand, so you just wiggle out. You basically wiggle out.
Yeah.
But there's, we have these fantastic, charts that we follow, that tell us where the rocks are, and we avoid them.
You have to. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's.
And we've been, I was just working on my updating our blog today for the past couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Trip from,
Tell that's for everybody listening.
Yeah.
You have a blog. You've been blogging actively for some time.
Just since February. Yeah.
So it's kind of like your own journal that you're keeping.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Very much
That's
so.
awesome.
Yeah, and we keep a logbook, which is pretty annotated. So, like, I can sit here and bore you with facts and figures as far as I know exactly how many miles we've traveled, and there's the technical stuff. But the blog is more of the stuff that happens. And like, for example, we were in very recently, like a month ago, we were in the worst thunderstorm ever. I mean, it was just awful. And
that's scary.
Yeah, honestly, it was very scary because we were at anchor, and oh my gosh. Anyway, so I just kind of relived all that today. I was like, wow, we have done some stuff. And you're talking about other elements. I'm probably like people's eyes are glazing over because I'm like getting into like sailing stuff. But in the Bahamas, the other big thing, they're called cuts. And they're basically channels. They're channels, and so you're crossing over from that 8,000 feet of water. You're crossing. You're like, well, I want to go on this side, and it's 10 to 15 feet of water, and that's all up and down the Bahamas. So those cuts have ripping currents in them, and so that's been really, really scary because you have to time those just right at slack tide, so you can just kind of I'm getting kind of technical, but it's been
but that's I mean, is that something you can train for to get through that, or you just have to go?
No training. You just have to know when. Well, like you have to know exactly precisely when it's called slack tide, and that's when high tide and low tide. It's at the moment that they switch. Okay. And there's no current. I mean, there's much less current because the water is just still, if you will, for maybe like technically slack tide is only like 15 or 20 minutes technically.
Oh wow!
So you don't have so you have to time all these cuts, or it's called a rage here in the Bahamas. So my eyes get like this, and
that's intense.
It is. It is really intense. And then we were traveling through the most dangerous cut in all of the Bahamas. It's called Current Cut, like aptly named. And this is another example.
Terrifying.
And on top of that, thunderstorms. Like we're circling around thunderstorms, waiting them to move off. And this current was it rips through about 10 knots, which is just insane. And our little tiny little diesel engine, on a sailboat can't.
You're flying.
Yeah, exactly. And they turn you sideways, and there's been you hear horror stories. Like the VHF radio is like it's like As the World Turns. It's like a soap opera.
Oh, I bet. Wow. Wow. That's it. So it's intense. It's like it is like a movie to me anyway. That little old me who we stay behind the break wall, so. Going out past the break wall, that's a little iffy for me. But you're going through the most dangerous channels in the Bahamas. It's pretty impressive, and you guys definitely know what you're doing. And
no, but that's the thing. I mean, we're just very, very careful, and like even for a cut, like you time it, and we'll adjust our speed that we sail or that we motor, so that's like we don't want to get there too soon. So it takes a lot of planning, basically, and a lot of patience. Yeah,
and that's really what you need. Yeah. And so you and your husband living on this boat, communication's huge. Obviously, when you're on a boat, that's the most crucial thing, right? Do you guys, is it kind of second nature now because you've been together so long? Like, you can kind of predict what each other is doing.
Wow, that's a sore subject.
Okay.
Wow, that's funny. Our daughter, I'll just tell you that our daughter, she was teasing us when we first started this. She's like, two of you are going to leave and one of you is going to come back.
One of you.
Joking, like, who's going to push who overboard first? No, I'm teasing. No, that's probably been the most challenging thing because we're both, and that's something that's kind of unique. Usually in situations like, I mean, your wife grew up in a family that sailed, so she might have had a little bit a little bit more experience than you did. My husband and I, it's one of the few things in life we both started at the same level. Like, my husband's a fantastic golfer. I'm terrible. So, like, if we were golfing together, he tries to teach me and it's frustrating and it's just like, leave me alone. But sailing, we both started at the same level and we've had all the same classes. We make sure we read all the same books so we have the same knowledge. So yeah, that's just, we're learning. I mean, until you're out there doing it, you just, it's interesting. And plus it's funny because, like, I was in training in OD my whole career. So, like, I know my husband's Myers-Briggs. So, it's the personality indicator or whatever.
Personality assessments,
yeah,
yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
So, I'm using all my, like, OD techniques on the boat. And I was just like, and we were, seriously, 2 days ago at lunch, we were just talking, I was like, we were talking about just quality of decisions that we make on the boat. That's just like, sometimes they're life or death. I mean, I'm not exaggerating,
Sure.
You pull out the wrong sail and too much wind and, the boat goes, boat takes a little dip or whatever. So anyway,
Right.
But it was just funny because but we had, I was like, well, I've noticed, when you, uh, anyway, but we just had this whole conversation about communication because it can absolutely improve. And like I said, it's just so important that you have to dedicate time to improve your communication. And we always do, like, lessons learned. Like, if we have I'm trying to think of an example. If we have an awkward experience, whether it's, a bad docking or the anchor gets stuck or, something, we always are just, okay, well, if that happens again, we always kind of debrief everything, which I think is important. So
that is important. That's how you learn and survive, and especially in the lifestyle that now you are living.
Yeah.
Not like you're gonna, we're gonna be home in a week. That's
exactly.
You're committed.
Exactly. That's so funny. And that's so funny. We haven't been doing this very long. We've only been full time since February. And we were anchored here a couple of islands down a couple weeks ago. And for the first time in the Bahamas, we were in a charter base. So there's a lot of people that are spending their vacation here. And they were all like 4 or 5 of them anchored right next to us last week. And I said to my husband, speaking of how much work, I said, those people just show up, they go take a week, and then they go back.
They get to go right back home.
Yeah, it's so funny. It just hit us like, they don't have to do any bright work. They don't have to. They don't have to wax the fiberglass.
Yeah.
I mean, I had no room to complain, but it was just like, it just kind of hit us. It's like, oh, it is a lot of work. It is a lot of work, but very rewarding. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. It's like the difference between visiting your niece and nephew and then having a baby.
Absolutely. And this is a big, expensive baby.
You've graduated to the 45-foot Catalina.
Yeah, and my husband, he left to go to work this month, actually. So I'm back with the boat, and it's like my to-do list of, polish this and shine that and clean that. It's pretty extensive.
Yeah.
I'm happy to do it.
Well, that you must love it. And you mentioned your blog, which
Yes.
I'm sure that it's a public
Oh
blog.
gosh,
Can we
it's on WordPress.
it's on WordPress? Where can we find it?
It's Happy Sales is the name of it.
Happy
So,
Sales.
Happy Sales.
Happy
It's a
Sales.
it's a take on, I don't know, you're probably not of the generation. It's a take on Happy Trails.
Yes. Okay.
It's a
Okay.
little
Gotcha.
riff on that. And I found
Gotcha.
my, like
Mhm.
I'd be standing at the dock, our old marina back in Florida, and people would, take off, and I just found myself standing there going, Happy Sales. And it just kind of stuck. So,
Oh, that's great. Happysales.com. Happy Sales.
uh, you
Or
know,
just
you
search
know,
Happy Sales
yeah,
and
exactly.
we'll
You know, I mean,
find it.
WordPress gives you a weird little thing,
Yep.
but it's like Happy Sales
WordPress dot.
works.com, something like that. But
Okay. Oh,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
great. And you're going to
I've
be
made about
keeping.
7 posts now. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. No, I like I said at the beginning, I said this could be your own podcast or your own, your own
Yeah.
show.
Yeah. What is it? The Sale of Two Idiots or
Yeah.
something. Be the name of it. Yeah.
That is good. I
I'm
like
on
that.
something. Yeah.
Because
Probably
you got it.
title.
Yeah, no, you've got a community there, and for people that are listening and love to sail here in the 3 months out of the year that you can
Yeah.
sail. I'm sure you're going to get a lot of followers and or a lot of hits on this, and they're going to go, all right, this is doable. So
If we can do it, anybody can do it. Oh my gosh.
well, there's a path there, and I learned more than I bargained for talking to you about it, because I'm kind of thinking, well, you just go and get a boat, and you go in the water, but you've really prepared, you've trained, and I don't know if you'd recommend any particular trainers or you said sailing coaches.
The ASA courses are just fantastic, and you can take those all over the country. I can't say enough good things about those. They're
That's
the best.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I'll definitely find your blog. I will put it in the comments.
I'll send
so
it too. Yeah.
send us the link and a picture or two. I'm sure that the name of your boat is
Lily Belle.
Lily Belle.
Yeah, I forgot. I didn't say the name of my boat. Jeez. And that's a riff on our daughter's middle name. Her middle name's Elizabeth. We used to call her Lilibet, and the name just kind of went from there. And she doesn't even like to sail, so it doesn't go fast enough. It doesn't go fast enough for her, but
doesn't go fast enough. She's not visiting mom and dad in the Bahamas.
She did actually. She was just here in May, so
great.
She basically camped for a week with us. She was such a trooper. It was great. But about the blog, I just have to specify, you have to keep in mind, none of our family, none of our friends sail. I mean, none of them. None of them. So the blog is really written, for people that just don't sail. So
that's great. I think that it can bring a lot of insight to people like me who need it. Believe me. My wife, just like your husband golfing. Yeah. My wife's like, just move or just sit there while I do this all.
So I'll trim the sail. I got this. This. You just don't get sick. Yeah. Well, we have different scales. Speaking of sickness, because I'm a little more prone, and I have I use the DEFCON scale of season. So anyway,
gotcha.
So you steal that and
I don't know if it was.
Like, how you doing? I'm like DEFCON 2, DEFCON 3. I mean, it's just funny. I have like these distinct stages of. Anyway.
Yeah, TMI. I've been there, and actually, I have been in there. I have been there in the Bahamas. On our honeymoon, unfortunately.
Oh wow!
We were in Nassau. The day and a half after we got married, I was on a jet ski with my wife in the blue water, and
Yeah.
that was great. That was wonderful.
Okay.
And I was like, this is the best place on earth, which I still think it is. But then we decided to take a charter out and go scuba diving,
Okay.
and the scuba diving went great, and we saw snorkeling really, and
Right.
and we saw a lot of great fish, and then we get back in the boat, and the anchor got stuck.
Oh.
So we're in the boat, and it's
Bobbing around.
rocking, and
Yeah.
it's rocking and rolling,
Oh,
and
no.
we're not going anywhere. And so, unfortunately, my honeymoon, I kind of hit that DEFCON,
Oh,
whatever, 5.
DEFCON 8. It goes backwards. But yeah, pretty
Oh,
intense.
yeah, intense, and it, as soon as I got on land, I was fine, but I always wanted to go back, and your story made me want to take a trip in my head to where you are, and you're right now. Tell us, for those of us trying to envision exactly where you are in the Bahamas. Are you like north, south,
Yep,
east, west?
we're north. Yeah,
Okay.
we're north. We came up from the south, so we actually
Yeah.
kind of did it maybe not backwards, but so yeah, we're in the Abacos, which is so we're north of Nassau considerably,
Okay.
and then this winter we'll head down to the Caribbean. So that's where we're headed next. So pretty excited about that.
Oh my goodness. We have to check out your blog and pics,
Oh,
and definitely stay in touch, since this is really the first time, unfortunately, face to face.
yeah.
But I'm glad
Yeah.
we're
Well, talked on the
documenting it.
phone- Talked on the phone before. That
Oh,
counts.
absolutely, and we've traded pictures back and forth, which I hope we can continue to do. I will show you my Elizabeth, who is
Yeah.
3,
Oh,
and who
yeah. I saw your Facebook page. They're so cute. You
thank
didn't have
you.
kids. You didn't have. I mean, you didn't even have children when we met. So
No,
so
we
fun.
waited a little while, and I think we both went, my wife and I went back to school,
Yeah.
and then businesses and
Yeah.
life, and now we're here. Now I'm doing a podcast.
Yep.
So maybe this is my start of my best life. I don't know. We'll see.
I'm hopeful. But I'm sitting on a boat. But you do have a piano behind you, so that's kind of awesome.
Yeah, which I can't play right now because everybody's in bed.
Everybody's asleep. Yeah. Well,
So,
yeah, next time we can jam on the guitar
yes,
and piano together.
it's a thing. It's a gig. We'll get it
Technology
set
is
up.
so great. I just love it. I love it.
I know. I don't think we could have done this 10, 15 years ago. I don't think it would have been as good.
No way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. So great talking with you. Thank you so much for
Thank
agreeing
you. Oh, God.
to be on and tell your incredible story. And I think it's incredible. I know hopefully people out there are going, all right, this is pretty amazing that you've kind of migrated to a life on the sea, and I think it's awesome.
People do this. People really do this. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it'll resonate. So
That's
thank you
awesome.
again. Thank you again for
My
spending
pleasure.
it almost an
Thank you.
hour. Can't
I
believe
know.
it.
Oh my gosh.
It went so fast. And no, I look forward to hearing more.
Yeah.
We'll check out Angela Smith Covey on Happy Sales.
Yeah.
Google search it. Check out her link. Subscribe to her blog, and check out the video of our conversation online. You can go to MikeMainier.com, and you'll be able to check out the video. And you subscribe to the podcast. The mic is yours. It's everywhere now. I think it's on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and it should be up in the next couple of days or so. So I'm excited.
Such a great name. Such a great name. So I love
Thank you.
it.
Thanks
Great
so
to
much.
see you. Thank you. Take good care.
Thanks so much, Angela. All right. Take it easy. Be safe.
All right.
Tell
Happy
your
sail.
husband hello.
All right. Will do. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.